Hello, I hope all is well. I didn't think I'd start off a video in the bedroom, but I thought with the light that's outside, it'd be the best kind of place to show the color on this. So this is the Sterling JP60. So Sterling by Music Man, and we're talking about a John Petrucci signature model that they do. I thought best to show the really cool finish on this, which is this Mystic Dream, I think they call it. So depending on how the light hits, it goes from like this chameleon kind of green to this purple. And it also has some kind of like sparkles in there as well. So a really nice kind of finish on there. As you can see, that changes with the light. The actual guitar itself in terms of specs is very straightforward. So we have a three-way switch here. We have a single volume, a single tone, and two humbuckers. So there's no push-pull split coil or even boost circuit as you can find in some other guitars. We then have a 2-point Sterling branded trem and then two Sterling branded humbuckers. And then at the headstock area, we have the John Petrucci inlay at the first fret, Sterling by Music Man, and that Mystic Dream finish again, which is really nice, along with John's signature. And the guitar is made in Indonesia. We also have locking tuners, and the neck is this sort of D-shaped neck that I think is very comfortable to play. I haven't taken the plastic off yet on the back plate either. So a huge thanks to Algam Benelux for sending this to me to check out. I'll put links to them in the description below. So first impressions of the guitar, and I think it's really comfortable to play. I really like the neck shape, which is this kind of D shape, I think. And the comfort cuts on the actual guitar work really well. I'll just switch to the other camera so you can see. So the comfort cuts, I think, work incredibly well. So we've got this really nice forearm contour here. And then there's also this kind of belly cut or belly curve, however you want to call it, here on the back. And the instrument itself is relatively thin. And again, I just think this finish is just really cool. The way it switches from this kind of green, like sparkle thing to this kind of purple and in between, depending on the light and where you're setting the guitar. And that is really cool to see, especially when I was filming. You know, I was moving the guitar around and seeing, oh cool, it's a different color now as well. One thing I'll note, these come shipped with I think 1046, which I feel were a bit kind of tight to play, at least tension wise. It's not really my preference on this scale length of guitar. I switched it to a set of 46/9, so a hybrid set. I think really works well for getting sort of easy bends and things like that while still having enough tension on the lower strings. Again, this is personal preference. And one of the cons for me is perhaps the position of this toggle switch. So yes, you can do really quick switches, but for me, depending on where you're picking, it can kind of get in the way, especially when you're on the higher strings, be it for lead stuff or even when you're picking certain things. And it kind of depends on where you pick. I tend to pick closer to the neck pickup. And when it's in the neck position, especially when I'm going higher up on the strings, I really notice the toggle switch. So it kind of sticks into my hand when I'm picking. And so I would knock it down by accident, I guess, because it's not something that I'm used to. Being there, should we say. However, it does mean that you can do really quick switches. Now, looking at some of John's videos where he plays, I think his hand is positioned back a bit more. So maybe something like this. So, you know, his hand goes past the toggle switch, so it's not such a big deal. But this is something that you can see for yourself with the guitar, depending on where you place your forearm and your arm, and of course how you pick. Now, this is a signature guitar after all, so the pickups are voiced with that in mind. So you definitely get Petrucci, Dream Theater, surprise, surprise. I think it does a really good job of that. One thing I noticed is that maybe the bridge pickup in this is maybe slightly noisy, but nothing a noise gate wouldn't fix. And the one thing I'd maybe look at doing is adding some kind of string mute above the nut, as those are things you can hear when you're playing kind of stop-start riffs or some of the Dream Theater stuff. No matter how good your gate is, getting sympathetic ringing above the nut, this is a really quick fix for that. And one last quick thing, I'll just show the preset that I put together to get the tones that you were hearing. The obvious one for me was doing the kind of DI clean tone, which I think is a really staple for what I'm hearing from those records. And it's nothing more than, say, a compressor. I'm using a graphic EQ to kind of tame those mids, I guess. And then, of course, a stereo tri-chorus that's going out to a 2290 delay. Below that, this is muted, just so you know. So when I'm doing the DI clean, it's just going up through the compressor, the EQ, the tri-stereo chorus, and then the delay. And then for the rhythm sound and then the lead sound as well, all of this, well, that won't be used, and we're just using an amp into a cab. In this case, we're using the JP60 plus yellow shred, and that's going into, well, a dyno cab. It's the Recto slant cabs with these settings. In any case, a very cool guitar. I typically wouldn't buy signature guitars. However, if I was really into kind of Petrucci, Dream Theater, and that style of thing, and maybe a Music Man is kind of out of reach in terms of budget, I think the Sterling guitars that they make and the various models that they make for, well, the John Petrucci models are a good way of stepping into or getting that signature guitar at a much nicer price level. In any case, thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Take care.